Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us on Now Conversations. These are conversations with authors. I'm Lisa Marie Garcia, and this show is about talking about the author publish process, of publishing a book. We'll chat about those behind the scene items that most people might not understand about the process of becoming an author. And the fun part is, as a publisher, now 7 years into this, I might know questions to ask that others might not know. So we're going to go ahead and come live here. I've invited guest Sabrina Protic, who is about to be a four-time author, to join us. So let me bring us all on stage here and bear with me as I get rid of the banner and bring us on board. And now I can't do it because I'm not that great at this. What am I doing wrong here? Sabrina, maybe you can help me. So I'm in banners.
Go down, or go to brand. It's probably
Go
in
to
brand.
brand.
I'm sorry. It's in
Okay.
brand, BRAND.
Okay, brand. Here we go. Okay. And I'm looking for the border to bring. Bear with me.
Yes, go all
Overlay.
the
How
way.
about, is it overlay?
There
There
you
we go.
go.
Yay.
There you
Good
go.
morning. I
Good
did it.
morning.
Former tech CEO figured out the tech on this
Okay.
GUI interface. For goodness. Good morning, Sabrina. Thanks for joining us. And happy Saturday morning. I know it's early
Thank you.
and thank you for being up. I hope I'm not taking away your one day to sleep in.
Oh, no. I'll hop on that treadmill when I'm done with this. So that's my little gift to myself.
That's who you are. Well, I used to be resentful sometimes that this actually is my only day to sleep in, but I've gotten over that with a couple teenage daughters that are
Oh, yes.
priority
They're ready
one.
to go. They're ready to
Yep,
go, aren't they?
that's right. All right. Well, I want to say a little bit about you. You're one of those clients that we have a couple pages of a bio. You're just very accomplished. But what I wanted to say about you is that I want people to know that you're an international inspirational community connector and relationship builder. You put that first and foremost in your bio, but as opposed to people saying the second line, which is you're an author, motivational speaker. You are a world-class financial coach, certified life coach. I know you from us meeting at one of your events and the founder of the WEE. You're the COO of some amazing shows. So, I mean, I could go on, but I really appreciate the community purpose that you have. So, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'd like to give one more shout out. I
Yes.
just recently became the executive board liaison for an organization called WOIII, and that's Women of Impact Innovation International. So we'll be doing a lot of outreach programs to help at risk moms and children and next gen innovators. So I had to put that out there because I'm really passionate about helping our communities.
Thank you. And I remember talking to you when you were just looking into it way back.
Yeah.
So I'd forgotten about that. But congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to serving.
Fantastic. So, we can chat. There's so many, this is a short show, but there's so many questions I could ask you and we can get into. And I was thinking about the fact that, you're about to become a four-time author with your new book. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But I thought it might be interesting for us to have a discussion on the different types of publishing, where you have and you've actually been part of different types of books, from being single author to anthologies. And again, this show is really to give people more insight into what I call the kludgy world of publishing. And I'm going to stop talking here for a moment and ask you, but I want to say one other thing about this. When we meet with potential clients, one of the absolutes that I tell them is there is no one right way to publish. There really isn't. And there's many factors that feed into that, but there is no one right way. And as we keep moving along in our company's history, we seem to see more and more companies coming into the marketplace, saying they're a publisher, handling publishing a different way. And again, one's not right and one's not wrong. But I thought it would be nice to hear from your perspective of what you've seen in self-publishing, traditional publishing, hybrid. So lay it on.
Well, and actually, this is really a good subject matter because everybody wants to be a publisher now. But I would say do your due diligence and talk to people who have published with those particular people. In case in point, my very first book, which I don't talk much about, it was someone experimenting and wanting to write a book, and we thought, oh, let's jump into that. It was a book collaboration, and it was a struggle from the beginning. We did get the book out, but there were missing pieces, missing parts, editing last minute, because it was a book full of, oh, I want to say 100 women, and
Wow.
most of which had never written a book. They'd never written anything. There were a lot of first time, we don't know what we're doing going on. So you have to have a leader. I want to say you have to have an experienced leader. If everybody's new, including the publisher, then that's probably not the boat you want to be on. But you do want to be, you do want to connect with someone who has experience and a proven track record to lead you, whether that's anthology or, you're a single author, and I think the thing to ask yourself is, what do I want from this book? And I would say, Lisa, initially, for the first time publishing, they're looking for the experience. They're looking for the experience of writing. Obviously, there's no expectation in terms of monetization because they've never written a book, but they want that experience. They have a little bit of something to say, and they are just looking for someone to guide them on how to package that. So understand that if you're a first time writer, soon to be author, what you need is some great leadership and just learn from that experience before you dive into writing your first solo book.
Thank you. What you're talking about then is really what's trending, and I'll say
Yes.
that we hopped on the trend too. It's called the anthology, right? The anthology book is really what's trending, and we came into it in 2020. We published our first anthology called The Top 25 Change Makers: Why Florida Entrepreneurs Thrive During Challenging Times. And we actually featured you as well in one of those books. You had already published, I think, 2 books by that point when you were a part of it.
Yes.
I didn't know that it was trending at the time. The book came very organically to us, but I was very particular in terms of not wanting to read or look at any other anthologies, and I didn't. I wanted us to, make it unique and not be influenced by anything else other than us wanting to, write and publish and edit an impactful book. But that was 2 years ago. Now we're publishing a couple anthologies. But what I've heard, this wasn't my own original thought, but what I've heard and agreed to, and what you said is an anthology is an excellent way for someone to write their first
Hmm.
chapter, be part of their
Hmm.
first book, and see the process as a whole. And I agree with that, but anthologies are very difficult for a publisher to publish. They're our most difficult book project. And we actually, to show that, I can't even imagine publishing one with 100 authors, like you said.
That didn't.
Uh, yeah, because our first one was 25 authors, and some of them were published authors. Our second one was 15. Last year in October, we published Wisdom Before Me. I want to keep our anthologies around 20. That's, you've got 20 clients all at once. You've got 20 deadlines at the same time. You've got 20 people to, keep on track on the same road. It's quite a feat. And at
It
the
is.
end of the day, the book has to still be as rock star as it needs to be if you had only one client,
Hmm.
or one author.
Well, yeah, and I've been in anthologies. I mean, I'm a solo author, but I've jumped on board with some, and here's why. The thought and the theme, it embraces you. You just love it, and you have something to say about it, but
Yeah.
maybe not an entire book. So you get what, 15, 20 different perspectives,
Yeah.
and it's nice to be able to go to this chapter and that chapter and read that person's experience. So it's really even a nice asset for an experienced author to join in on anthologies, because I think I've been in 4 and I love them. I mean, I absolutely love them. So, they're great, but absolutely for a first time author, an anthology is a good place to start. But I would say, again, with an experienced publisher, and you so that you learn the ropes, and then reading other people's work. So it kind of helps you too when you're new at writing.
Yes. No, thanks for bringing that up. So you're 100% right. And it's a very interesting book for the reader. right? So you know, in our company, our purpose is also around, is this a purposeful book? Does it have an impactful message? And, you know, how can we make it enjoyable for the reader? I mean, that's our job. At the end of the day, our job is to, when a reader spends their money and their time to buy one of our books, to deliver something that they enjoyed and was impactful. You know,
Yes.
and in anthologies, our anthologies fit that bill. In fact, here's my little plug. We did announce our first anthology is called Don't Get Pickled. And it's going to be written by authors that play pickleball. And what they're
Ah,
sharing, but it's not about pickleball. The twist is, if you're a pickleball player, anyone that's listening right now, and I'm an avid pickleball player, so it's feeding me a bit here too. When you get pickled in a match, it means not only did you lose the match, but it meant that you didn't even get 1 point.
oh,
So it's really sour. It's really a sour pickle for you to say you got pickled, and you hope it doesn't happen too much, because you hope at least you got 1 point if you lost. So the book is Don't Get Pickled, and Don't Get Pickled. It's life lessons of what not to do. So I'm excited myself to start putting this together, to read, like you said, the stories of the contributing authors. We've got a former CIA guy, you know, just all types of people that have been through something that they want to share. So I do love anthologies for that reason too. And it's funny that we're
talk
continuing to
about
talk
that's
on
going
that.
to
But
be
it's
a
true.
fun book.
Is
That's
that
going to
going to
be
be
a
fun?
fun book.
Yeah.
Yes, that'll be a
Yeah.
fun book.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I was told, I was thinking about learning a game of golf, and a very seasoned golf professional, he said, it's a very expensive sport. He says you will enjoy pickleball more. He says learn how to play pickle. This is a seasoned, I mean, he's professional. He
Yeah.
says
Yeah.
get into the game of pickleball. I says
See, you need to.
I've got
You
to
need
read your
to.
book.
Yeah. No, for
Got to read
sure.
the anthology.
Yeah. I've been a tennis player. I am a golfer, and I went from tennis to pickleball, and I love it. I've been playing about 5 years. It is my jam. In fact, I'm going today at 1:30. I get my 3 hours of fun. Yeah. So, um, you know, I kind of want to stay on the anthologies a bit, but a bit more, you know, so let's kind of, I want to stay there, but let's also talk about some other differences in publishing, because I really value that you have that experience. I think there's so much to say about it. One of the things I think that's important is that, you know, the quality of the book, you know, at the end of the day, in 10 years from now, Sabrina, I know we'll still be connected, but you know, who knows what will happen. You know, I won't be, you know, talking with you weekly. I mean, these days we're talking weekly because you're going to be publishing your second book in on March 3rd. But you know, you never know what's going to happen. But in 10 years from now, you'll be looking at your book, and you'll be, you know, well, people will still be talking about it. And it's about the quality of the book. And I'm saying that because sometimes when we meet with people and they say, I think I've decided to just go ahead and publish this on my own. And they will say something like, you know, I have an editor. And that kind of makes me cringe a little bit, because we believe there are three disciplines of editing, and there are three different types of editors: content editor, copy editor, format editor. And those are three different skills. And having those three levels of editing affects the quality, no doubt, of your book, with people being able to read it and finish it and not get in rabbit holes and not get stuck on even the simplest punctuation and spelling. You know, that's part of what a publisher, you know, can help you with. Can you give your feedback on that and what you've seen in that?
Yes, I
Oh, good.
absolutely will. In fact, with my first book I wrote, my solo book, when you're writing the thoughts in your head. You're just unloading, you're brain dumping. And but now you have to turn the book into something that's digestible, that's readable, and not offensive. And I remember making a statement about eating at a certain time of day when senior citizens eat, and I didn't want to do that. And the editor says, now you have to be careful making certain statements, because you want them to bond with you, you don't want to offend them. And
Yes.
so the editor helped me to change that sentence and the content of that, so that it was actually palatable and it appealed to the people who got those early bird specials. And if
Right.
I hadn't had an editor, that could have been an offensive statement. And I didn't mean it to be that way. But I was simply stating that I hope that I get to a certain, when I reach a certain age, that I can afford to eat anywhere I want to eat and not be, bottlenecked into that. But she helped me. So that's what an editor does. I mean, you couldn't, they're invaluable because they help you present your thought in a clean manner in which the readers can bond with you. So you absolutely need one, not someone that's just going to go in there and help you with spelling.
Right. Well, so two things there. One is, I'm not an editor. I'm not a writer necessarily. I'm an ops and business gal. So it took me a bit to understand, first of all, that it is a difference between a writer and an editor. There's a
Mm.
whole bunch of skills in an editor looking at writing versus there's different skills from an experienced and professional writer. So if you're doing this on your own, you need to understand the background of your editor. Many writers call themselves editors. But you'll find,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, there are degrees in editing. There are different manuals for editors that they stick to as they edit. Writers don't do that. They're writers. They're not editors. So there's very distinct professions, and that is one of the first things I want to say. The other part of this is, there are English teachers that are many times I'll talk to authors to be, and they'll say, well, my wife is an English teacher. Excuse me, I'm going to turn this off. My wife is an English teacher. My editor has a background in English writing. Completely different than editors. I love that you brought up that item. I remember that years back. It was
Yes.
like
Yes.
2018 when you wrote your first book with us, or I think published in 19. And not only, and especially today, I mean, especially today, we need to be so sensitive to that particular
Oh,
subject,
yes.
even on a hyper level. So we are, but even more than that, there's content editing is very subjective. So you can have the same sentence edited correctly 10 times. It's not wrong. It's just different ways of saying it. And what is a very hidden talent sometimes of a great editor is that they pick the one of the 10 that is in the voice of the author. That's
Yes. Yes.
right.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
that's another skill that you might not get if you're not working with a professional editor in your book. And it will be obvious to
Yes.
the readers.
And I want to weigh in on something else too. And I experienced this in writing my book that's getting ready to release, is that now you have to be careful because the world is changing and we don't want to stereotype anyone. So sometimes you can say couples and married people. Everybody's not married, but they can be a couple.
Right.
So when you're doing your writing, you have to
Yeah.
make sure that you're inclusive rather than exclusive and include all categories of people, or again, you're going to lose the reader. So being all of that, and an editor will catch things like that. Now it's been a long time since I've been in college, and I took my APA classes, and I think I've been told you I used to have my little blue book, when I was in college, and teaching you how to punctuate, how to cite, you know your structure of your sentences and all of that. I've just kind of lost all of that. And not that your book needs to necessarily comply. You don't want it to be so staunch, but an editor will just catch certain things that maybe you're just not up to date on. Because again, you're brain dumping when you
Right.
write your book. And they structure. So a good editor, like I said, an English teacher is going to be so different. Well, you didn't punctuate right here. And not that it doesn't have to be that way, but you brought up a great point the other day when we were talking. You want your writing you want it to flow.
Right.
When someone's reading, it's almost like they're in conversation with you. So you want it to flow, and you don't want some of those hard stops,
Yes.
right? In your sentence
Yes.
structure.
Yeah, yes, for sure. Actually, what we were talking about was, do you use a contraction or do you not? So do I write? I might write, I cannot, see that ball across the fence. Or so you might write that. There's nothing wrong with that. Yes. Or do you say, I can't see the ball over the fence? As you're reading in your mind, as you're reading, you want to just keep the reader involved, not stumbling on a semicolon, for an instance. There's another good example. I
Yep.
happen to be a person that hates the Oxford comma, but there's so many editors, I'd say 90% of them, from my experience, love the Oxford comma. The Chicago Management of Editing loves the Oxford comma. Not wrong or right, but when I see it as a reader, and I'm an avid reader, my mind and my thought, I stop there, and I don't want to stop. I want to continue to read the story and move through it. So there's I think it's a great conversation we're having, because there's a lot to writing a book, and only people that are watching this that have written a book are probably saying amen, hallelujah, yes, it was a big process. And I don't want to discourage people from taking a step and becoming an author. But what we always start with when we start with a new client is we say, this is a team effort. We're going to have to work together. And here is the expectation of the hours that you're going to be your real dig in, right?
Yes.
We start with that. Maybe
Yes.
share a little bit about that. I was going to ask you, what is part of the most difficult process?
Well, I would say structuring quiet time. Now, for me, that usually ends up being late in the evening where everybody's too tired to talk to me. and they're watching TV or whatever. But you have to have time set aside so you can brain dump and you can think, and making a schedule, and so deciding when you're going to write. Get on a schedule. I did. I had my own personal deadlines. You didn't set them for me. I had them for myself. What I knew I could do, but setting aside that quiet time. And sometimes you might just have to forego some things. Now, the end result is you're going to have a beautiful book. But if you don't do that, you're going to feel a certain sense of anxiety when you go out and do some form of, recreation. Could be last minute. Here's the thing, last minute. Hey, Sabrina, come go somewhere with me. And you've set that time aside to write. And you're going to have to be true to yourself. And so, well, you know what I can do it after XYZ. But
Right.
if you jump every time someone asks you to do something, you won't get it accomplished. So I would say, you know, setting aside that quiet time, and I would go in my room and close my door because I just couldn't be interrupted, so that my brain could relax. So here's the thing, I hear people say they struggle writing. Well, you know why? You got too many things going on in your head.
That's right.
You hear the dog barking. Maybe your best friend's talking to you. You got your phone on. It's not on silent. You got
Yes.
your notifications on your devices. And all these things are interrupting your train of thought. And that's why you're having a hard time writing. But if you set that personal time aside, you would be amazed at how your brain would just start to open up and flow.
And I love what you said. And in fact, I'm turning my D&D on right now because it wasn't for this show, but the a big piece of it is you have your emails notifying you while you're trying to write. You have your phone on. Maybe you have some other distractions. It's not a wonder that you can't concentrate. And
Mm-hmm.
we're getting towards the end, and I do want to talk about your second book with us, but I do want to commend you because you have actually changed. You worked on deadlines in a different way for book one versus book two. And so let's just, so we'll give tips talking about how do you find writing time. What we tell clients is we do something called butt and chair, BIC. And it's for your first book, we probably talked about that, where you put in your calendar, and this is the way I wrote my first book. You put in your calendar, just like your normal business meetings, this is your time. And I did like 11 to 1 or something for so many days. And that was my time, butt and chair, working on my book in some way. That was your first book, which I'm going to do your shameless plug of Growing Ageless, that you published with us. And now with this book, the next book that's coming up, which is called Hindsight to Insight, Money Between Family and Friends, you actually did your content download, like you said, on your own schedule of the entire book all at once. So
I
that's pretty
did.
awesome.
I did. Well, and you learn, you grow into authorship, but I had outlined everything. And of course, you helped me with that, but I kind of knew what I wanted to say. And so it was much easier for me not to be interrupted. I'm going to say this with some of the scheduling, with now, and for me just to get those, I broke it up in quarters, and to get that writing done and then submit it, because that was a whole thought. So presenting whole thoughts to you, for me, especially the type of book that this is, I had to make it smooth and make it flow. So I captured the content legally and that it was accurate, accuracy. And then of course my shared experiences and lived experiences were fun, but I had to deliver good, clean, accurate content, and that is why I handled it that way.
So I'm trying to share screen because I'd like to end with inviting people to your book launch for your second book and telling them about it. And when I say I'd like to share screen, I'm trying to share screen now. So here I am having an issue with tech. Um,
Well,
the Go ahead.
while you do that, I'll tell them a little bit
Okay.
about it.
Yes, please
Okay.
do.
So we're having so the name of the book is Hindsight to Insight, Money Between Family and Friends. And it's really an informational resource guide to managing your money, growing your money, getting on a wealth building plan, having money for later, and having money when the unexpected happens. Also, dealing with money between family and friends, different scenarios, and how to protect yourself, how to make right decisions, everything from having a checking account or a savings account, who should be on it, who shouldn't be on it, and why. So, really, it's an eye opener. I'm sharing my mistakes so that you don't make the same mistakes and encumber yourself financially and be on the hook financially for something simply because you didn't know that probably it's not a good idea to do that. So it's a great book. It's great for families, husbands, wives, partners, students, preteens, anybody that's handled money, borrowed money, loaned money, needs more money, needs to understand money and have that wealth building plan. It's a great book. And
So I
did you
thank you
find
for I found it, but it's the wrong file type. So what I'm going to do is I'll follow up and make sure that we put the image, and also let's invite anyone that's local to Tampa to the book launch for Hindsight to Insight by Sabrina Protic. It's on March 3rd at the Hotel Alba. VIP tickets are still available, which includes an autographed copy from our author, but it's going to be a great celebration, and you'll be able to look at the amazing book that is Sabrina's second book with us. And it's a great read. I can say that I finished my word one to word end of her book. It's really a great read and very important, and will make a great gift. Actually, it's a great gift for, who it's a great gift for is college students or high school
college
students going to
students?
college, and college students, because college students are just experiencing handling their own finances, hopefully separate from mom and dad. Right. So it's got great advice of how to invest, to save, to budget, to watch loaning to others, you cover it all. It's really a complete financial book.
I would
Excellent.
say that parents is probably the best gift you can give your college, even high school,
Yeah.
before they get involved in situations that could be harmful and you have to come in and save the day. So that book says some things that you don't have to say about money, and it protects the parents as well.
And I'm putting in the stream right now. Hindsight to insightbook.com is where you can pre-order. And also on that site, you'll see the Eventbrite link to register to come and see us on March 3rd for the book launch of Hindsight to Insight. Sabrina, thank you so much for being with us on Saturday, and look forward to additional conversations with authors. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Happy Saturday.